Welcome to the Barry Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie G, possibly a lawyer, but no relation to humanity. I'm here with my co-host, Magnum Mills, and we're going to break down all things Barry. Mills, if you're done seeing shit and going crazy, I have a job for you.
You know what I would love? I would just fucking love to get random texts from NoHo Hank. If that's not already an app, then somebody really, please, if you know something how to do that, please get on it ASAP. I need random texts from NoHo Hank in my life as soon as possible. And thanks again for checking us out. We are the Barry Podcast. I am Magnum Mills. Remember to please like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. We're on social media at Barry Podcast, and you can send your feedback to barrypodcast@gmail.com. It's time to do this, right?
Absolutely. And please remember, we will 100% absolutely positively be spoiling all aired episodes of Barry, as well as any major media interviews or appearances. We will not be discussing any leaks, screeners, or rumors, just every episode up through episode 3 of season 3, titled Ben Mendelsohn. Mills, it's time for you to do your job.
Thank you. You already did a little bit of it. This is episode 3 of season 3, titled Ben Mendelsohn, originally aired Sunday, May 8th, 2022, directed by Alec Berg, written by Emma Barry. This is her first written by credit on Barry. The short plot synopsis is, as Barry and Jean take on new opportunities, Sally prepares for her first press junket, and Katie shares her concerns. With the Bolivian still in heavy pursuit, Hank reaches out to Fuchs, while Cristobal pitches a new tactic to Fernando.
Good work so far, Magnum Mills, but the job is far from done. It's time to break down this episode of Barry titled Ben Mendelsohn.
We open with Jean and Barry in the makeup trailer getting ready for the roles on Laws of Humanity. The producer and the showrunner come in, introduce themselves to Jean. The producer explains that they're so touched by what he's done to help the veteran Barry that they're giving him a line. It's a small line, but pivotal to the story. Barry has to remind Jean to say thank you, and then the title card drops. And dude, we get one of the things I love here. We get another Gene Cousineau true Hollywood story. These are my favorite because Brian here, he is the showrunner, I believe. You know, the producer's talking all nice, but Brian comes in, he's like, hey, do you remember me? Murder, She Wrote. I was a PA. You attacked me. And then Gene, I need more. And then Brian's like, you threw hot tea in my face because your omelet had chives. Gene, was I playing a priest? Like, that's still not specific enough for him. Like, how many times, like, how many different PAs on Murder, She Wrote did he throw, hot tea in their faces because his omelet had chives? The answer is more than one.
Mr. Cousineau is...
And they also must have brought him back multiple times on Murder, She Wrote because he apparently played other things besides a priest. So apparently this was a thing he did, and they kept bringing him back. So shout out Old Hollywood, I guess.
Yeah, and please, True Hollywood Story, Gene Cousineau, please keep them coming. We really appreciate it. It's great when you get another Gene Cousineau story.
And I'm not gonna lie, dude, when they told him he was gonna get a line, my first thought was, yep, he's gonna fuck this up.
I don't know if he's ready for a line. I mean, I don't know that he was ready for the scene. Now he's got a line.
All I can think of is these pretzels are making me thirsty. I get the Seinfeld flashback there when it's just one line, but these pretzels are making me thirsty.
Very thirsty. After the title card, we head over to plants. And that's where the Chechens are surveying the damage left by the Bolivians' raid in the previous episode. Our guy, NoHo Hank, he's trying to deflect blame from the Bolivians, but Petir is not buying it. He wants to find Cristobal and take him out. Hank offers an alternative. It's time to activate the Patsy.
And, when Hank's trying to deflect the blame, one of his lines, shout out Peacemaker, because this comes up there too. Hank says, I mean, I think it's just neighborhood kids being chodes.
Yeah. How great is it to hear Hank saying chodes? I mean, that's just hilarious.
Yeah, again, cue up your hanging chode joke in 3, 2, 1. And, I mentioned it before that I thought maybe that Petir knew about Hank and Cristobal's relationship. It's obvious here that he does not, so I'll take that one back.
But he is figuring it out, Magnum Mills. He is connecting the dots, reading the tea leaves, and I think it's pretty obvious that he's on the case here pretty hot.
Yeah, he's got like 3 black checkers. They're not like he's got a diagonal 3, he's got a cross 3. He's going to connect 4 before you know it.
Yes, he does.
it's time to figure out what the hell Fuchs has been up to. So we go to Chechnya, and first we see Anna, and she yells to Fuchs that he has a phone call from America. Fuchs seems to have totally embraced his life in Chechnya. He calls Anna his love, and he's happily herding goats. Hank tells Fuchs that the coast is clear, and he can return to America. In fact, Hank has booked him on a flight for tonight. Fuchs tells Hank that he's happy where he is. Hank tells Fuchs that he doesn't have to worry about Barry, as Barry isn't even mad anymore. Fuchs thinks about it for a minute and tells Hank that he's not interested and not to call him again. Batir says that this leaves them no choice but to embark on a suicide mission against the Bolivians tonight.
Yeah, and you know, on one hand, you're happy for Fuchs here. I mean, watching him jog away from the herd with his shepherd's hook and the breeze in his hair. I mean, he's really living his best life out there, man. I mean, I don't know if he's gotten the the cereal that he wanted or not, but he's clearly a happy man.
Yeah, dude. And we kind of see it's almost like Fuchs's deal is that what pisses him off is that Barry doesn't give a shit about him anymore. And I think you see that come up later in the episode. The fact that Barry kind of can just wipe his hands of Fuchs is what bothers him the most. He'd rather him be still, after him or whatever. I don't know. It just because he seems so happy, right? And it's like it's just that one moment where because NoHo Hank's like, oh, he's a total basket case. It looks like shit. And I don't know. Do you think that comes back up again? Do you think somehow that's seeding something in Fuchs's mind that he's gonna, senses some weakness in Barry, or there's more going on there or something like that?
Definitely. I think that Fuchs is somebody who listened to Hank, brushed him off, but he is clearly not done thinking and processing and making his move here. No question about that. One question I had here, though, don't the Chechens kind of own Fuchs? Don't they just kind of tell him what to do? I didn't think there was really an option.
I guess he wasn't really being held hostage. My impression was when we saw him in the opener that he was almost being held there, not necessarily against his will, but it turns out I guess they were just basically keeping him safe. And if he wants to live in Chechnya by himself, they weren't going to stop him, because that was the plan. He's the patsy. They're gonna, oh look, it's the Raven, and they can set him up to take the blame for something. But we'll get more to the rest of Fuchs later in the episode here. But I do just want to say, dude, Batir fucking growing on me, dude. His line when he comes out after the phone call is like, well, now we have no choice but to do suicide mission. Cristobal and Bolivians die tonight. I like Batir's energy, dude. He's got good energy. I'm feeling it. And, shout out Fuchs, because this line cracked me the fuck up. And, when he's talking on the phone, he's like, well, to tell you the truth, I'm really happy here. Yeah, I got myself a little slice of heaven right here. Turns out I'm a natural at everything goat. And man, I'm a natural at everything goat. I am going to find a way to use that in my personal life.
Dude, I'm with you on Batir. I think more Batir is good. The show kind of needs it. I like the interaction between Hank, Batir, the other Chechkins. I'm there for it 100%. Well stated.
Yeah, I love that little foursome there. I hope, I'm starting to become attached to all of them, so I don't want any of them to die. So hopefully the Bolivian thing finds a way to work itself out. After that, we saw Barry and Jean do it earlier, and now it's Sally's turn to be in the hair and makeup chair. She's prepping for her Joplin press junket. She's worried about what she'll be asked as far as her past, about abuse and her upbringing, that kind of thing. She's also worried because she doesn't actually have a daughter in real life. Lindsay assures her that everyone will see her passion for the show. She just shouldn't be too passionate. Katie comes in to see Sally, and she's very nervous as well. Sally tells her to just be herself and that she'll be great. She has no reason to be nervous. This scene broke me a little bit.
Did the deodorant get you with the good kind, the cancer kind?
Dude, just the whole Darcy Carden. Let's just shout out Natalie. She's like, oh, I have deodorant. I'll get it. The good kind, the cancer kind. And then she sprays it on, and she puts her face in Sally's armpits to blow on, I guess, to dry it off or whatever. And Sally's just talking this isn't the first time they've done this, obviously, so she doesn't even blink. I was tearing up, dude. I laughed so goddamn hard. It just the visual of Darcy Carter, Natalie, just gently blowing, and this is stuff that's supposed to cause cancer, and she's basically willingly inhaling it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, and Lindsay got a good one too. Oh, do you want some Vaseline for your teeth? And I'm assuming this is more or less people have done that before, probably. I guess it must make your teeth shiny or something.
I guess it does. I do.
Yeah, I
I
try
did
not
also.
to put Vaseline in my mouth since I was old enough to know don't put Vaseline in your mouth.
No, it's not for your mouth. Magnum Mills, I did like the you don't want to be the real you in the wrong way. It's just this was
No,
great.
see, I think that is probably in a scene that was mostly just kind of fun. That was, I think, one kind of real line right there. And and you did get Sally's worries about not actually having a daughter because on the lady on Pam or whatever, that actress actually has a daughter or something like that. So there were a couple of real things, but it was mostly just fun. And even Natalie gets one more line, but I think she's talking about what Sally's wearing. And she's like, "Oh, by the way, I love this romper. It says I'm a woman, but don't treat me like one." What the fuck does that mean? I
Like
have no idea what that
non-binary,
means.
bro.
I have no idea what that means, dude. I cannot. This is like me trying to pick out the difference between colors of flowers.
I think
I'm
to me
Alicia
it's
Silverstone over here, man.
treat me as a human. I know you're clueless and you're rolling with the homies, but I think it's treat me as a human. No boundaries or limitations, so to speak, or definitions is a better word, probably.
I just think Natalie was just trying to say some nonsense to just, she's just, that's her job, right? She's just supposed to, buff her ego up a little bit.
And buff she did, Magnum Mills. And from there, it is time for the press junket. Sally is surprised to find out that this consists of many very short and extremely superficial interviews. She starts to get the hang of it, but she's a bit thrown when somebody asks her who the next Spider-Man should be. She answers, Ben Mendelsohn. Thoughts on this, Magnum Mills, this Ben Mendelsohn situation?
Well, all right. Let's, if you don't really, because I guess people don't, I don't know if you don't follow up. Ben Mendelsohn, he's an Australian actor. He's been in some stuff. He's been in he's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now. He was in Rogue One, the Star Wars movie. So he's been he's been kind of coming into some American stuff recently. He's kind of hot. He's kind of the lead heavy in Ready Player One. He was the sheriff of Nottingham in the latest time they tried to make that. So he's definitely been in some stuff, but Peter Parker, he is not. He is an Australian actor in his mid-50s, probably not a great candidate to play the, our favorite web slinger.
Yeah, so not exactly a high school kid from New York City who, was inquisitive, kind of nerdy, and analytical.
I mean, they're doing the multiverse thing now. I'm honestly there for the random, like, give me Australian Spider-Man. I'm there for Australian Spider-Man. Because honestly, they got some crazier spiders in Australia, right? So like their Spider-Man would have to be different than our Spider-Man, I feel. And not as many buildings to swing around and stuff. So you probably have to partner with Kangaroo Man or something. And
Yeah.
I don't know how that would work, but I would be there for it. And this is something I did hear Bill Hader talk about in an interview, that a lot of the stuff we see at the press junket, the questions come from his experiences in real life. And the Spider-Man thing comes from when he was asked, I think it was when he was doing Trainwreck. They had two questions. He's like, I had two questions. It was like, what's it like to work with LeBron James? Or what do you think about Ben Affleck as Batman? Like, that's just so random, right? I mean,
Yeah,
what can you say? It's not like you're
nothing.
going to be, it's a fellow actor or whatever. It's not going to be like, oh, that sucks.
Which is also funny why they worried so hard about this, because it's basically nothing but bullshit. It's sit,
Even
smile, say the same
one
thing
time
over and
Sally
over
just
again.
says yes, and they're like, great. Like they don't even really, they just want to, that's all they want is that sound bite and that's it. Like they don't want intricate answers or anything.
Yeah.
It's all surface for that. We got a scene after that, and Barry and Jean they got their hair and makeup done, so they're in the trailer waiting to shoot their scenes. Barry wants to run his lines with Mr. Cousineau, but some of the dialogue hits very, very close to home. After they run their lines, Jean starts talking about Janice. First, he asks if she suffered. Then he asks who the guy in the woods was. And Barry decides, all right, he's got to tell some truth here. So he basically tells him the truth about Fuchs, and this helps Jean put the pieces together. He realizes that the monologue that Barry gave him was real, and that when he mentioned it at dinner in front of Janice, it tipped her off that Barry was the guy that she was looking for. If he hadn't said anything, she would still be alive. Barry says not to put it on himself. She was just really good at her job. The whole thing's just really unfortunate, They've both done horrible things, but they're helping each other make up for it. I mean, Jean got a line. Barry says, you're welcome.
Man, I wish I could compartmentalize things this good. I mean, this is really some next level mastery shit here.
Yeah, I mean, Barry's not really reading the room here at all. Even when he asked Jean to run lines, like he's like, you want to run lines? Yeah. And he starts doing it. Like he doesn't even wait. Because if you look, I mean, Wingless is playing it. He's just got the 100-mile stare. he's not even really, he's almost motionless, just, the dead eyes off into the distance, like almost, doing one of those things where you're trying to pretend you're somewhere else or something like that. And, Hader's great with the manic energy and everything here. It's just, man, I mean, some of the dialogue here, just, because the actual dialogue from the show, Barry says, what I did was terrible and I'm truly sorry. And Gene has to say, I accept your apology. I mean, that's really right on the nose, but it works here because this is really what Barry wants, right? This is like Barry's wet dream. He says, I'm sorry. And Mr. Cousineau says, he really says, I accept your apology. It's okay, and mean it, because that hasn't happened yet. And I don't think it ever really will.
Look, Barry's feeling better, but to your point, Gene is not.
Yeah, and it just, Barry, he really has this kind of like idolicized view of Mr. Cousineau. Like, he really just kind of puts him on a pedestal. He says to him, like, look, I believe I got some of this from your teachings, that you can be the version of yourself that you want to be. And Gene says, I never said that to you. And Barry says, well, what I'm saying is that I never would have learned that if it wasn't for you. And Gene's like, oh, so I'm responsible for who you are? And Barry's like, well, yeah, the positive side. Yeah. That's how Barry looks at it. Like you said, he is able to kind of compartmentalize like that. And he just doesn't understand, I think, when someone else can't do the same. Although you could argue how successful Barry's been at it, considering, he went to NoHo Hank talking about seeing shit and everything like that. Based on NoHo Hank's text, we are definitely reminded of that. This is a very important scene too, and I think it does matter that the dialogue is so on the nose for their current situation. And you only really got one little lighthearted bit where Barry's just rambling like, "Oh, I might go over to the Wheel of Fortune building and take some pictures." That's very cool. You got to give just a little, just one in there to just
to lighten it just a smidge, Magnum Mills. And speaking of just a smidge, we're back at Fernando's fantastic Airbnb. The Bolivian assault squad is getting ready to go back to plants and finish off the Chechkins. To avoid this, Cristobal tells Fernando that the Chechkins are on the run and there's nothing for them in Los Angeles. Fernando seems to take this well, saying that he trusts Cristobal and that it's all about perspective. You win some, you lose some. They'll head back to Bolivia, but Fernando doesn't know how to break it to the guys because they're very excited about the upcoming assault. Cristobal suggests taking them to lunch. Fernando thinks about it and decides he's going to take the guys to Johnny Rockets for lunch, and he'll break the news to them in the parking lot afterwards. As they wrap up their conversation, Cristobal declines an incoming call.
Like Johnny Rockets, I remember Johnny Rockets. There was a restaurant at the mall. I'm guessing maybe it came with maybe it's a bigger thing in California or something, but that was really shout out Johnny Rockets, I guess. I don't know. That was just not what I would have.
Well, it's like their whole shtick where you sit in like an old like 50 style car.
Yeah, it's a diner. Yeah, I don't know. I've been, but I've just never. Like again, you go to it because it's in the mall. No one, like, you're there because you're hungry. All right, I go to Johnny Rockets. You're not like, let's go to the mall so we can eat at Johnny Rockets.
No, right? You're not. You're not wrong, bro. I mean, I'm not seeking them out.
I don't think it's a destination restaurant, so to speak. Cards on the table. You think Fernando is being honest here, or do you think, all right, he sees something's up with Cristobal, so he's just telling Cristobal what he wants to hear?
I am leaning towards he's just telling Cristobal what he wants to hear.
That's how I read it as well. When he kind of takes a minute to think about it, like you win some, you lose some. That might be him talking about his son-in-law.
Yeah, I think he's starting to kind of connect the dots that Cristobal might not have what it takes. When we first met Cristobal, it was kind of like this Bolivian animal. He's much more mellow, super total chill, which is awesome. And Hank's been good for him as a person, but he's not what I think they're looking for with, the assault squad.
Oh, dude, that bird sound is going to live on in infamy forever. And after that, we see that it was actually Hank who was calling Cristobal when he declined the call. Hank is back at the office at Plants, wondering what to do next when Batir enters, and he's got a bomb that he bought on the dark web. They're going to use it to blow up Cristobal's house. Hank says no. What they actually want to do is they want to kill Fernando. He's really the one in charge, not Cristobal. He's like fourth, fifth in line at best. Fernando is the one in charge. They have to get him. Batir asks how Hank could know this, and Hank says he just knows, and Batir needs to trust him. Batir tells Akmal to just blow up the house, and good luck. Akmal protests, saying this is crazy. This gives Hank an idea, and he says, I know someone crazy. Dude, the line, again, Batir and Akmal, I'm loving.
Bro.
Dude, these, the supporting cast here for the Chechens, but here's, it says, just blow up the fucking house. Good luck, Akmal. Akmal, what? What the fuck does it have to be me? Can't we draw straws? Batir, who are you? Bruce Willis and Armageddon?
So good, dude. I mean, honestly, this spoiler alert, this is probably going to be my favorite scene. Like, this was so good. I mean, it's in this shitty box, like it's not even like folded up.
It's
properly,
on the same.
and it's
He
just
bought that
taking-
bomb off the same website where Barry was like the hitman joint or whatever, where
Yes.
Barry was getting the jobs, all those shitty jobs in episode 1. That's the same website where Batir bought that bomb. 100% mark it down.
Yeah, and I love the little dig at Armageddon with the drawn stars. Batir is great. Akmal's he's had some funny moments in season
They're getting
2.
more though. Like you can tell. Like
Yes.
I almost like don't want them to add more or kill any of these guys and just let this kind of force them develop a little bit so they get some real chemistry. And then I want an Entourage style show just starring the 4 of them.
Oh, I would be there for
You heard
that.
me,
Man.
HBO. That's what I want, dude. And they're just
Pilot
trying to bring
Plants.
like they're trying to turn Plants into a franchise or something.
Love it, Magnum Mills. From that wonderful scene, we are back on the set of Laws of Humanity, where Barry gets a text from NoHo Hank offering him a job, which Barry declines. Right after that, Barry gets a call from Fuchs. Fuchs says that he's sorry for any problems that he caused between Barry and Mr. Cousineau, and Barry seems to accept his apology. But when Fuchs fishes for an apology from Barry, Barry declines to apologize. Fuchs tries to play on Barry's emotions by claiming to be dying in the hospital, but Barry can literally hear the goats in the background. Barry doesn't have time for this, and he tells Fuchs that he and Mr. Cousineau are fine. Do not call him again. Fuchs immediately calls back, wanting to know just how Barry and Mr. Cousineau are fine. Barry explains that they worked their shit out, and now they're even working together on Laws of Humanity. Fuchs is pretty impressed by this and notes that, man, that's a great show. Fuchs thinks Barry is full of shit. He can never move past that because he ruined Mr. Cousineau's life. Barry says that he's making it up to him by acting and wants to know why Fuchs cares. Fuchs says that he doesn't care, but Barry points out that he must because he called him. Beyond frustrated, Fuchs screams and throws his phone. He turns to see Anna, who's been watching him silently and somewhat disturbed.
The text, like we get to see it from NoHo Hank. And here's NoHo Hank's text. Hey, Barry, you still feel like you have no purpose, seeing shit, going crazy, etc.? If so, I have a job for you! Exclamation point.
It's so Hank. It's perfect. Please, Hank, text your boy Jamie G. Esquire the Fifth. Hook me up with all that NoHo Hank texts. Love it, dude. This was just reading this out loud. This was an LOL. Like I laughed out loud at this. This was really funny, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can kind of tell just how out of tune Barry is too. Where Fuchs is like, you're talking about, Cousineau. He's like, you ruined that guy's life, and Barry's like, yeah. Well, now I'm making up to him by acting. I mean, that's almost like on the edge of parody. It's so stupid if you think about it.
Oh yeah,
but that's really his plan. Like that's really his plan. It's so stupid. It's on the edge of parody.
And I enjoy the Fuchs and Barry relationship. It was kind of funny to get that dialogue back here a little bit. I mean, I love Fuchs, saying he's dying, but then Barry sniffs it out because he hears the goats, and then Fuchs is like, well, maybe I'm at a zoo with my new best friend, and then it just taking little digs, and then Barry's like, well, obviously you care because you called me, and Fuchs is like, you fucking called me. Just running out of it. Just was funny to see them kind of fight with each other a little bit here over the phone. I miss the Barry Fuchs connection.
It's so weird because they have such a dysfunctional relationship, and you can't really tell if Fuchs cares about Barry or he just cares that Barry doesn't care about him. I think either way that this is probably, if they don't have this conversation, I don't think Fuchs makes the decision that we think he makes at the end of the episode. Maybe he's content to stay there with Anna and the goats. I don't know. It's just something about Barry, right? It's, that's, I don't quite know, man. They're just so dysfunctional. I'm surprised that they're either not father-son or dating.
or both. I mean, it's that messed up. Great overall humor here, though, Magnum Mills. I mean, Barry hearing the goats in the background was just classic, and enjoyed this.
Because the goats were very obvious, and shout out if you're getting some pretty good phone reception out there too.
Yeah, he's got good service. I wonder if that's a freaking T-Mobile or what's he got out there.
Yeah, I don't know, especially considering in episode 1 that like they couldn't even get anything.
Yeah. Yeah,
They
he's
couldn't even
living
get
his
crunchies,
best
dude.
life
Had
out
to eat
there.
the critters, man.
I'd eat the critters, dude,
Yeah, all right. And then
with warm goat milk.
yeah, but that's how he learned that he's great at all things goat. So it makes sense. He's the
He's the
goat of
goat of
goats.
goats.
Goat of goats, dude. If we did individual titles for the episode, that would be it. And that brings us back to the Joplin press junket. Sally and Katie have a break, and they seem honestly more bored than nervous at this point. Sally comments that she never answered the same question so many times in a row in her life. They discuss the questions that they got and the answers that they gave, and we realize that Sally knows absolutely nothing about current pop culture. Sally invites Katie to attend the premiere tomorrow with her and Barry. After all, they have a limo. Katie thinks about it and declines. Then Natalie shows up and tells Sally that they're ready for her again. Sally leaves. Natalie sits down next to Katie and offers her some advice. If your boss asks you to go to the premiere with her, you say yes. Same thing if anyone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. Katie replies that she doesn't feel comfortable around Barry. Natalie remarks that she knows Barry and she's seen him yell before. He's harmless, and she's sure that he was having a bad day when Katie saw him yell at Sally. Natalie explains that she was in an acting class with Barry. Sure, he yelled at them a few times, and he killed a few people in some war, which messed him up, but he's really a good guy. Katie is worried that he's going to do something to Sally. Natalie tells her not to worry. He treats Sally like a star. That's why she keeps him around. None of this seems to make Katie feel any better.
Yeah, you just gotta feel like Katie's gonna be, there's something to this, right? She's gonna find something out about Barry. She's gonna be kind of the new person that's kind of investigating him, so to speak, but not really. It just feels like that something's brewing with her, right?
Yeah, you don't keep bringing it up. Like it's too many times now. You can't
Yeah.
just drop it. It would seem weird if they did. So I think she's going to have to do something. Maybe we'll talk about that in predictions. And let me be, 100 and over 100 here with you. Let me be frank, so to speak. I've heard of Cake Boss. All right, I know it has something to do with cakes. But then you get this exchange between Katie and Sally, where Katie's like, "Hey, did they ask you about Cake Boss?" And Sally says, "Yeah, is he one of the new Avengers?" Katie's like, no, that's a baking competition." Sally's like, "Shit, that's embarrassing." I want to see a superhero named Cake Boss, though. I mean, Batman has a villain called the Condiment Man who fights with like ketchup and mustard and shit. If we can have that,
Can he report to Cake Boss?
I mean, Cake Boss
I
just
love
needs
that.
to be. I don't know how he can be a giant cake. I don't remember like Krang, the giant brain, and like he
Yes.
got giant at one point in the
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles cartoon. Like you can
Yeah.
just make them all big, give them some legs and some arms, and put some little some googly eyes on them or something, and let's rock and roll with Cake Boss.
And dude, maybe just maybe you can get a 3-course boss where you get, Pizza the Hut as your first villain, and then you got to get your way to Cake Boss for your dessert. Sorry, my brain's going crazy here.
Oh no,
Pizza the
I'm
Hut,
totally with it, but I was just thinking, like, man, we're almost there to like this getting approved for a Disney Plus series, but I don't think they own the Spaceball rights, so I don't know if we could use Pizza the Hut on Disney Plus. So I don't know. We'll have to think about that one. Maybe we can pitch Cake Boss to DC. Like I said, Batman's already got the Condiment King. Maybe he can work Cake Boss in somewhere.
very, very cool, Magnum Mills. I love it.
Yeah, and just
I like Natalie though, bro. Like I think
I
think
love Natalie, but
Natalie's
she's
a
a
cool
little
character.
she's like willfully ignorant though, right? Like the way she says, I mean, her exact quote about Barry is, "Oh, I was in an acting class with Barry, and he's a really good guy. He yelled at us a few times, and he told us that he killed a few people in some war, and that it messed him up. But I don't think that makes him violent.
She's just kind of like
A little bit head in her sand, right? Like
yeah.
she needs
I think it's
Sally to be on the
bit.
come up. So and Barry, she thinks Barry is good for Sally. And that's the other interesting component here is when she says, "Oh, Barry thinks Sally's a star," and that's right. Like I think Hader even talked about that. Like when he tells her that, that's the first time they actually kiss, and he brings her flowers and does whatever she wants or whatever. So it does make you wonder, is that really the case? But on the other hand, you do see Sally's the one actually telling him that, "Oh, I love you." It just, man, their relationship it seems like one of those relationships that on the surface, everyone thinks it's like, oh, it's like they have the greatest relationship. But if you actually dig down into it, it's probably fairly dysfunctional, just like everybody else's.
Oh yeah, that is very true.
I mean, is there any chance that this is like, if this show really gets big, that she just drop Barry?
I think she needs that strange codependency relationship in a sad way, and I think she loves Barry, bro. Like they've shown a couple of times where she's the one saying, I love you. She's trying to buy the new remote, the controller, even though it's an Xbox controller and needs a PlayStation controller. She's thinking about the fact that he doesn't want bolognese. He wants spaghetti off the kids menu. She genuinely cares about Barry.
Yeah, and so if you had Cake Boss, he can maybe fight like some eggs, and they'd be like the excellent 11, and then the Cake Boss could like beat him up and be like, "Take me to your beater." Is that punny enough? That was pretty funny. I was trying to go like 60s Batman level.
It's punny meets dad joke, and yeah, that's what we're here for on the Barry
Take
podcast.
Me to Your Beater, dude. All these alternate episode titles, and you know what?
Oh, and they could buy the rights for Beat It by Weird Al Yankovic, and that could be the theme song.
That's that'd be a pretty good theme for that could probably work for the theme of Cake Boss. We're gonna have to work.
I didn't think we could afford Michael Jackson, but I thought at least
Weird Al we might be able to. That's
yes.
Maybe we can hook him up with some guest star or something. I'm down to. He can do some voices or something. Totally down for Weird Al to be on Cake Boss. We'll work it out. And also, we probably need to get the rights to the name Cake Boss too somehow.
Cake Boss.
That's your arena for. You're in charge of these laws of Cake Boss, but
I'll handle the legalities.
All right. Well, you know what? I'll handle the next scene on the set of Laws of Humanity because it's time for Barry and Jean to shoot their big scene. The scene involves Barry's character coming into an office to apologize to Jean's character. In the scene, Barry apologized to Jean because his company knowingly hiked the price of a drug that would have saved the life of Jean's wife. What he did was terrible, and he's truly sorry. But instead of delivering his line, Jean hesitates. He gets up out of his chair, he turns to face Barry, and he punches him in the face. And he says, I want you to stay away from my family. Fuck you, and don't talk to me anymore, you piece of shit. Jean then turns, he runs off set, and we don't hear anything. Apparently, everyone is just in stunned silence. Outside, Jean throws down his jacket, and he seems to have kind of realized what he's just done, and he says, shit, and starts to really book off the entire block.
Yeah, this was, my thing is, man, he didn't even care about that sports coat, bro. He just whipped it right off.
That wasn't his. That's from wardrobe.
Left it right in the parking lot. I just knew he was gonna snap. He couldn't just follow suit on that, could he? I mean, there's just no way.
Yeah, but dude, cards on the table. Everyone's gonna think it was like a crazy improv, and they're gonna love it, right? That's what I'm 100%. That's what I'm thinking.
He's
like,
gonna
be like, that was great. You know what I mean? That's even though I don't know how the fuck's gonna go over on what's apparently a network show. I don't know how that's gonna work, but I feel like everyone's gonna love it. Like they're gonna think it's gonna get him another job. Prediction.
Not only that, they might change the storyline to make Barry and Jean a bigger role because of how good and how real that on-site on-cam relationship was. I mean, how tense that scene was. Like, I can definitely picture that.
And honestly, that would give an excuse because this is some very meta whatnot here, because we have Zach Morris himself, Mark Paul Gosselaar. He here is playing himself, who is playing a lawyer named Humanity on a show called Laws of Humanity.
Incredible. That
just is.
Yeah, it's a wordsmith work here.
That's just the big
level.
Brain meme, dude. That's just dude. That.
Well, Magnum, let me tell you a true story.
Shout out to Mark Paul Gosselaar there, looking like kind of like I thought for a second, I'm like, is that Chris Pratt? Because he had the kind of the beard and everything, but he looks better than Chris Pratt. So like, dude, Zach Morris is aging in the opposite of dog years, dude. Like he's aging like one of them turtles who lives for like 200 years, dude. Good for you.
Hey, he's Benjamin Button, dude. And
I got Dead on Campus was a minute ago.
Yes, and that was a good one too, by the way. Laws of Humanity. So let's just talk humanity. One time, Magnum Mills, I worked with a woman named Kim, last name Burley. She was literally Kimberly, but not nearly as good as Humanity. I mean, just awesome here.
When he says Mr. Manity, Justin, he says, incredible. Miss Bear says Mr. Manity. I'm like, oh shit, his name's Humanity. He says, just call me Hugh.
So good. Very, very good.
Oh, just played it super straight and everything. Just, and it's funny because we said all that. We didn't really talk about Gene punched him in the fucking face.
Yeah.
In theory, Gene did it thinking that this was his last shot and Gene was willing to give it up. But I think when you get outside, he did it because in the moment, I think just hearing Barry say those words and him having to say, I apologize, and he just couldn't bring himself to do it. But you see, I think outside after he drops that jacket, he says shit like, now he's got to like get his son and grandson and run or something, right? Like, what does he do from here? And I don't think he thought about that until he got out, outside of the set in the parking lot on the lot there, and just like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Barry's going to respond, and it'll be interesting to see as this thing plays along.
Although, we'll see how Barry reacts, and it's not quite maybe the way I would have thought.
From there, we go to the press junket, and Katie gets asked about Sally's current real life relationship, and she uncomfortably says that her current boyfriend is great. He's awesome. Back in his trailer, Barry calls NoHo Hank and says that he's in. Just tell him how much and where he's going. Hank thanks him profusely and says that he'll call him tomorrow. Batar, though, is a bit confused. Why is he giving this important job to a madman who killed most of their men? Hank says that they want a madman, and besides, the day in the monastery, Barry was just having a really bad day. Batar is still confused. He wanted to kill Barry, but Hank insisted that they use Fuchs, which was a bust. Now he wants him to stop going after Cristobal. They stare at each other in silence for a long moment before Batar grunts and heads back to his desk. And it was a great grunt. It was a...
Yeah, we'll talk about this in predictions because I have some thoughts on Batir after this. The one thing I love, we've talked about, the other henchmen, you got Yandar and Akmal are the other two. And when, Hank's on the phone with Barry and he's like, Barry's back. Dude, those two dudes like jump and high five like they won the fucking Super Bowl. And you have to think about it. It makes sense because they think of Barry as this crazy dude who killed all those people at the fucking monastery. So like, oh shit, if we got this dude, like we're good. Like this dude's fucking nuts. He'll kill everybody. But Batir is kind of like, I don't know about this shit. And I love again, Hank just gets a solid like on the phone because he thanks Barry like 97 times, like, Barry, you're a real one, okay? You are doing me such a solid. You have no idea. And then when he's trying to explain the whole thing, but don't we want a madman? Barry is Greek Freak of Assassins, okay? And for those of you who don't follow basketball, that's reference to the reigning MVP, or actually reigning Finals MVP, I should say. He was MVP of the league 2 years ago. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Milwaukee Bucks. So
he is the Greek freak.
He's the Greek freak, and he's incredible, one of the best. So that's the implication here, just in case you didn't get the reference, because not everyone follows the NBA, I guess.
Do you think Batar just goes rogue here and gets Cristobal anyway without telling Hank, just to kind of solve the problem that he now realizes is in fact a problem?
Yes, more or less. I was gonna say that for predictions, but yeah, pretty much. That's more or less where I'm going with that, I think. And I think that pretty much wraps that up. So that brings us to the final scene of the episode, where we go back to Chechnya, where Fuchs is fuming. Anna hates seeing him like this, so riled up about Barry, when Barry's not even thinking of him. Fuchs replies that's why he wants to kill him. Anna proceeds to tell Fuchs a fable about vengeance, the story of Balam Dila. A man came across some beautiful farmland. He wanted it for himself, so he killed the farmers and took the land. The souls of the dead farmers were forced to roam the land in purgatory. One day, the Balam Dila shows up and offers them a deal. Forgive the man and go to heaven, or seek vengeance. All but one little boy choose vengeance. The Balam Dila turns the soul-seeking vengeance into panthers, full of fury and rage, who attack and kill the man who took over the farm. Their souls are then condemned to the darkest depths of the sea, where they drift in the cold, dark depths for all eternity. But, as promised, the one little boy who forgave the man was sent to heaven. Fuchs seems to miss the moral of the story, because all he wants to know is how long it took the guy to put together the Vengeance Panther thing. Anna replies that it's a morality story. It didn't actually happen. Fuchs takes a moment before menacingly replying, but it could be. And the episode ends.
I love that that's what he got out of that story. Fuchs is so twisted that
the Vengeance Panther thing. Again, another alternate title for the episode. And also the Vengeance Panther thing sounds like a pretty good title for like a punk album or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's that you could see like Rancid having an album titled that, like that.
And you could tell he's kind of not really paying total attention either, because at the end of the story he's like, "Oh, you say this happened to a friend of yours?" And Anna's like, "It's a fable from the 16th century."
Yeah, he was looking for an edge there, like, "Oh, you know someone?"
Yeah, I mean Stephen Root. We probably don't give him just enough shout outs because we don't get as much Fuchs as we do. But even on the scenes when he's on the phone, for the most part, he's acting against air most of this episode, and he's just, again, just a phenomenal actor, just one of the best. And just I think sometimes we just take it for granted how good dude is. So, and shout out to Anna too. Like, I think he's way out of, like, as far as Fuchs, this is way out of his league.
Oh,
like, he should just stay there.
Kicking his punk
he's got a good thing going. Like, look how not only Anna's beautiful, she's smart. She seemed to like be helping with all the stuff.
She's half his age. Like, she's like, she cares about him.
What is Fuchs doing, dude? Like, he is. I'm just saying this puts it over the edge that Fuchs is a bigger asshole than Barry, because even Barry, I think, would recognize, like, oh, I got a pretty good thing going here, don't I? He's trying to at least recognize that with Sally, and Fuchs can't even help himself. He just wants to do the Vengeance Panther thing.
He needed to hear something. He heard what he wanted to hear there, but very funny that he took it as literally.
You got to tell too where he's going with it, because when Anna first asked him, like, "Oh, do you know the bull on Bila?" Fuchs just says, "Yeah." Because it's just like, no, you don't, because he just doesn't even. He just is like, all right, chew your gum, girls. Basically, so yeah. Sure, I
don't want to hear you talk.
And she's like, yes, you know the 16th century Chechen fable. I'm sure you fucking know that.
Yeah, like the back of his hand.
Hey, go eat your fucking critters, man.
Magnum Mills, good stuff, my dude. And you know what? Your job is almost done. All we have left to do is hit the highlights and whatnot, and we can start by giving out our favorite line or bit from this episode. For me, Magnum Mills, I have got to go with the deodorant scene. It was just too good. I mean, literally, when she's oh, I have deodorant, I'll get it, the good kind, the cancer kind. I mean, this was just so funny, brilliant, just little scene. For me, that line right there, that's the line of the episode for me.
Oh, dude, that's tough, because there's so many bangers here. Like, I think we both would agree that honorable mention is Fuchs saying he's a natural at everything goat. That's just
yes.
I gotta say, like, the Gene Cousineau thing, I think we can just acknowledge, like, do you remember me? Murder, She Wrote. I was a PA, you attacked me. I need more. You threw hot tea in my face because your omelet had chives. Was I playing a priest? Like, we just always need to shout out the Gene True Hollywood Story stuff. But I have to go with my favorite. Shout out Batir and Akmal.
Just blow the fucking hose. Good luck, Akmal.
What? What the fuck does it have to be me? Can't we draw straws?
Who are you? Bruce Willis in Armageddon?
I don't want to do this. This is crazy.
I mean, that's so just the randomness of shouting out Bruce Willis and Armageddon at this point. It's just
good call with the throwback to draw. They literally draw straws. I mean, that's a
it's a correct reference, which is that adds to the hilarity of it, in my opinion. And we can't count, because it's not said out loud, we can't count Hank's text. So I just want to say that. Otherwise, that would be the thing if we could do that. So yeah, dude. So that's brings us to our favorite moment or scene of the episode. And for me, this one was pretty easy. It's that scene where Barry and Gene are in the trailer, and Barry wants to run lines, and they kind of have a confrontation where Barry opens up about how Fuchs is, and Gene blames himself for Janice's death. I think that's some pretty powerful stuff, and it's what ultimately leads Gene to just go ahead and blow his last chance at Hollywood in theory and sock Barry in the face and run out of there, despite eventually pretty quickly figuring out what the consequences of doing that are. So that was pretty much the winner chicken dinner for me, no matter what. Jamie G, what was your fave?
Man, I've got to go with Batar bringing in the bomb in the busted up unfolded box. It's ticking. Just that whole interaction, absolutely hilarious. My favorite scene of the episode. I know it was a light one. It was just fun. And that's what Barry is to me. It's just fucking fun. And yeah, that was a great scene. That brings us, Magnum Mills, to the time of the episode where we each give our Greek freak of assassin. That's right, our MVP of the episode. It looks like it's my turn to go first. I'm sorry if I'm stealing your guy here, Magnum Mills, but I have got to go with Batar. He emerged as an absolute winner in this episode. Give me more Batar. Every line he had was a winner. He was involved in my favorite scene. I could have found dialogue from him that was literally my favorite. I mean, this guy, I love Batar. So he clear-cut MVP, Greek freak of assassins all day, every day. Batar for me. What about you, Magnum Mills?
He was up there. He was up there on my list. But I think because he actually doesn't blow it in this episode at the end, it looks like he might. but I have to go with Fuchs because up until, the very end where it seems like, maybe he's going to get his revenge on Barry. Dude, he's winning. He went from, we thought he was being held hostage in like the middle of fucking nowhere, like he's screwed, to he's got his own place. He's the fucking goat of goats. And he's got Anna, this beautiful, intelligent woman who seems to love and care for him for some reason. He's got it all, man. Fuchs is on top of the world. He's going to blow it. But at least for this episode, he's clearly on the highest hog of everyone here. Because even Batir thinks, he was at least prepared to go on a suicide mission before he decided to make Akmal, bring the bomb over to Cristobal's.
But for the record, Fuchs was my runner-up.
Yeah, that again, I think those two were pretty clearly up top here. And that brings us to the time of the episode that all the characters on Barry would care the most about, because this is when we put on our little TV critics hats and we grade the episode. And in honor of Gene Cousineau, Henry Winkler himself, we're going to grade the episode on a scale of 1 to 10 Fonzies.
Because I'm the Fonz. Huh? Hey.
Because Fonzie was the coolest. So 10 is the best. That's the mega Fonzie. And my turn to go first here. It's a good episode. Stuff happens, but it's again a little bit of a come down. Like you said, moving the chess pieces around a little bit. So I'm going to go with 8.2 Fonzies. Good stuff. There were especially some super highlights here. Love that we continue to get some Gene Cousineau true Hollywood stories. But it's just, a little bit of a calm before the storm episode, I think. Nothing I particularly disliked. I think everything made sense. I like that we're seeing, guys like Batir start to really make something of themselves. But I think this is ultimately be looked at as an episode that more sets up stuff that's going to happen than a standalone episode that really, sticks out as a one you'd rewatch on its own or something like that. Jamie G, how many Fonzies you giving this bad boy?
Hey, bro, I'm right there in the universe with you. I'm going a smidge higher. I'm giving this 8.5 Fonzies. Yes, 100% agree. It's a chess piece set up. Some could say a Candyland episode where they're setting up shit for the future here. But dude, there are just way too many good one-liners in here. And the dialogue in this episode was fantastic. And for that alone, I am giving it 8.5 Fonzies because, hey, that's the coolest. Not quite Pondy coolest, but it's up there.
Roger Dodger. I just dropped myself off at the roller rink, get some strange. Hop in, baby.
Pondy is the coolest.
Oh man, now I just want the Fonzie Pondy crossover. Like they're
Yes.
they just spend the entire time just slapping the jukebox at the roller rink, dude. That's what they do.
Hey. All right, Mills. Before I do what any good lead does and I get us some Ubers and get the hell out of here, do you got any predictions for next episode and or the rest of this season of Barry?
We touched on the first one already, but yeah, I think Batir, he thinks something's up with Hank and Cristobal and or Barry. So he's going to go behind Hank's back and try to take out Cristobal and or Fernando without telling Hank.
Yeah, and we also touched on this one a little bit. I think Fernando is lying to Cristobal. He's not going back to Bolivia. Cristobal may be going back to Bolivia, but Fernando and the secret assassin of the assault squad, they are not going back.
And
But they did go to Johnny Rockets.
And I mean, actually, given the title of the next episode is we'll get to submit, but it's all the sauces. I mean, I don't know. Do they give you many sauces at Johnny Rockets? Maybe imagine there's a crazy shootout at Johnny Rockets between like Barry and the it is more like I keep wanting to do the Birds of War thing, but
It's so good.
I mean, so they have to. I guess. Do you think that that Akmal actually bombs a house, or he does something with that bomb?
I think it ends up not going off, or it's something funny happens with it, but it doesn't do what they intended for it to do. Let's say that.
See, my alt here was that, you know, how the I did like how during the episode he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna attack their nursery again, but this time during business hours. And so maybe they wind up going back there, and for some reason, like they haven't gone to do the bomb thing yet, and they actually set off the bomb, so they take themselves out basically. I think that would be, you know, a little bit of Alanis Morissette there.
Oh yes,
Don't
it
you
would.
think?
I do think a little too. Magnum Mills, I'm going to say our boy Fuchs, he is back on American soil within the next episode, and he's got his love, Anna, with him. Maybe a goat, but definitely am.
I was thinking, I don't know how that's, I'm pretty sure they have to 30-day quarantine at least for livestock, I think. And that's probably a couple bucks, man, to bring some goats over.
But how funny would it be if he just has a goat that's his pet goat that's just walking around with him and shit? Like that would just be a great little.
He is a service animal, but it's a goat.
It would be funny. And everywhere he goes, the goat's like following him around and shit.
I don't know, man. No matter where I go, I see the same goats.
Goat. Every other video, bro.
I see the same goat, yo. And one more here. Obviously, I said that before, that I think ultimately Gene punching Barry, all the acting people and people on set are going to think it was some kind of crazy, awesome improv thing. I like your idea that they get brought on as maybe recurring characters or something like that. But I also think it would be interesting if either A, he gets cast on Joplin, on Sally's show finally, or even more interesting, he gets cast on the rival show, Pam. I think that would be kind of interesting, right? Because then it would kind of set up, because Barry would be torn then, right? Like he'd want Mr. Cousineau to succeed, but on the other hand, this is a show that's basically directly competing with Sally's show. So I think that would be a pretty cool dynamic. I'd like
definitely would be. And last one here, Katie is going to do something against Barry, either say something to the reporter or something.
Yeah, leak a report to somebody or something like that. That especially if one more thing happens too. If she sees anything else or talks to one more person, then I think she'll order the code red, so to speak.
Absolutely. My dude, we're damn near done here, Mills. I just need you to tell us what's coming up next on the Barry podcast.
It's easy. I already teased it. Next week, we'll be covering episode 4 of season 3, titled All the Sauces. Look for the next episode of the Barry podcast to drop on Wednesday, May 18th.
Thank you for checking out the Barry podcast presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. We hope that you enjoyed it. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It only takes a few seconds, and it really helps us out a ton. Magnum Mills, tell these beautiful people where they can find all of our totally chill, free content.
Well, it helps if you know what the internet is. That'll save us a lot of time on explaining stuff. So I'm just going to assume you know what the World Wide Web jigger thing here is. And seriously, thank you for checking out the Barry Podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform, and we're on social media at Barry Podcast. Please send us some feedback at barrypodcast@gmail.com. We're from the Joe Blow Football Show, who you can find at joeblowfootballshow.com, and on social media at Joe Blow Show. We are covering Ozark from Netflix. They just wrapped up their final season here, covering all the episodes on the Ozark podcast. Again, on your favorite podcast platform and on social media at Ozark Podcast. We are covering Better Call Saul, also in its final season, on Saul Over Soon, on your favorite podcast platform and social media at Saul Over Soon. And we can't stop, won't stop, not Rockefeller Records, but covering It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on Night Pod Cometh. We are the Night Pod Cometh on social media at Night Pod Cometh and on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you very much for checking us out. Really appreciate it. Seriously, we really honestly appreciate it. I said it a lot of times. We really mean it. I'm Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G. And we hope that you enjoyed this. But if not, you don't need to worry about it, because I'm pretty sure that people can change.
Job well done, Mills. Job well done. See you next week on the Barry Podcast.
We got a job for you. This has been the Barry Podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. This show is for entertainment purposes only. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with Barry, HBO, Alec Berg Inc., Han Arpley, or Warner Brothers Television. The views here are those of the host only, and they do not reflect those of any other person, organization, or entity. Thanks again for tuning in, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next episode.